The Twilight vampires are so indestructible. Why do they have to hide their existence under threat of death by the Volturi? Why don't they take over the world? What human weapons could unalive a Twilight vampire? So this is a really good question, and there's actually a few factors at play here. So it is discussed a little bit in the books, and even in the Breaking Dawn movies, we hear a little bit that now humans do have some weapons that could pose a threat to vampires. So like theoretically, like nuclear weapons. Now, even that, if we're being so honest, that would be very complicated for humans to really do anything to vampires, just because of how strong and fast and how much smarter they are than humans. It'd be very complicated to do that anyway. But the thing is, the vampires were doing this before humans even had any kind of weapons that could harm them. And it's largely because of the Volturi, because the thing is, before the Volturi kind of rose to power in the vampire world, vampires did, in large covens, rule over humans in this universe. So like the Egyptian coven had like human slaves and stuff. It was just known, and they would just do what they wanted. And then also at the same time, the Romanian coven ruled over humans, and they didn't hide themselves. They were just, you know, sparkly overlords and ruled with terror, right? But the Romanian coven and the Egyptian coven actually existed pretty peacefully together. What happened was Aro formed the Volturi Guard and then just kind of wiped them all out because he wanted power. So he proposed this idea, right, with the original Volturi members, that this was the right way to exist as vampires, and that it was for like the mutual benefit of all vampires. To live inconspicuously, it would keep them peaceful and safe, and it would keep their food sources regulated and all that. But what he was really doing was building this guard of the most talented vampires, right? And at first, both the Egyptian coven and the Romanians really rebelled against us. We're like, oh, you're not going to tell us what to do. But Aro, of course, outsmarted them with his, you know, army of talented vampires, and that's how we have the only remaining members. Vladimir and Stefan narrowly escaped, and that's why they hate the Volturi so much and are always looking for an excuse to take them down, right? And Amun survived because he knew that rebelling against Aro, trying to fight him, wasn't going to work, and he knew that the only way he was going to survive was if he submitted, and he did. But he's been secretly trying to build an army against him. And even though Aro lets Amun live to like set an example, like, oh, if you follow our rules, we'll spare you, they have all kinds of beef. That's why Amun keeps Benjamin, our avatar vampire, like locked away, because he doesn't want Aro to find him, and he still thinks he's going to build an army stronger than Aro's. Amun actually found and turned Dimitri, the Volturi's tracker, before Aro snatched him away. So it's like a whole thing. Basically, the point is that it's largely just because of Aro and the Volturi, and they kind of all just follow their rules. There are obviously some points to living conspicuously, like humans do technically have like nuclear weapons now, and there is like the whole food thing. Like theoretically, it kind of makes sense, but largely they all do it because they're afraid of the Volturi.